What's up? Ghost Fictions is here, and we're back again. This is the part 2 of a story where neglected Izuku was trained by the legendary Dark Slayer, son of the legendary Dark Knight, Vergil. But before we start, please consider subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. Don't forget to check the description for more information. Now, let's get into part 2. Third person Pav. He woke up in the observation room. Something was wrong. He could hear a cacophony of explosions and shouting. In reality, the room was silent, other than the breathing of some sleeping classmates. His heart rate increased rapidly. Short, sharp breaths could be heard. All Might turned around at the sound of a panicked scream. Hinako looked up, fear in her eyes. All Might rushed in. Hinako following suit. He was standing there, back turned to them. Hinako. Izuku turned around, he had entered his SDT form. Hinako activated her devil trigger form as Izuku flew towards her. She was blasted back, embedded in the wall. Ryashi stood up and summoned his sword. Ryashi's blade started to change forms, as if reacting to Izuku's demonic presence. All Might. Detroit smash. Izuku blocked the hit with one finger. Izuku punched All Might with full force, sending him out of the building. Ryashi walked up, his new sword resting on his shoulder. Ryashi. Izuku. Calm down. Izuku turned at the noise, steam coming out of his mouth. Ryashi felt his sword charge up. The sword flew out of his hand and into his chest. His body started to change, becoming more demonic, like Izuku's. Ryashi had entered his Sin Devil trigger. He decided to not hold back. All the other students had moved to the edges of the room. Izuku and Ryashi both threw a punch at each other. Their fists connected as the door to the observation room blew off its hinges. Ryashi saw that some of the teachers had come to help. Izuku and Ryashi circled each other. The green energy blade suddenly appeared in Ryashi's shoulder. Izuku was suddenly behind him. Ryashi sent his energy swords to attack Izuku. Izuku had dodged by jumping away. However, he happened to jump into a high concentration of Midnight's gas. Izuku staggered and fell on one knee. Seeing an advantage, Ryashi pulled out Balrog and ko'd Izuku. He fell backwards, his SDT form fading away. Ryashi breathed out, letting his own SDT form fade. Midnight. What happened? Ryashi. I don't know. Hinako pulled herself out of the wall. Hinako. He had a panic attack. He lost control of himself. Izuku Pav. I woke up in the observation room. I saw Hinako watching the remaining fights. I decided to get up and go see her. Clink. I was tied to the bed with quirk suppression handcuffs. I used my raw physical strength to snap the cuffs. Hinako turned around at the noise, so did All Might. All Might got into a fighting stance while Hinako rushed over and gave me a hug. After Hinako released me, I got up and walked over to the screens. I see an All Might shaped hole in the ceiling. I look at Hinako for confirmation as to what happened. Hinako. Panic attack. Izuku. Shit, did I hurt anyone? Hinako. Other than All Might, no. Izuku. Thank God. We approach Ryashi, who waves at us. Ryashi. It was kind of funny, seeing you block a Detroit smash with one finger. Izuku. He's that weak, huh? Ryashi. Yeah, good thing we all chose to limit our power to 5%. Izuku. Yeah. Time skip brought to you by Nezu laughing at All Might flying through a ceiling. Izawa. Let's get down to business. This next task will decide your future. Class 1A, thought. Is it another quirk test? Izawa. You all need to pick a class representative. Class 1A. Oh good, just normal school stuff. Everyone started calling out, wanting to be chosen as class rep. Denya. Silence, everyone, please. The class representative's duty is to lead others, it's not something just anyone can do. You must first have the trust of every student in the classroom, therefore the most logical way to fill this position is democratically. We will hold an election to choose our leader. Class 1A. Your hand was raised the highest out of all of us. Enki. Is this really the best idea? Sayu. We've only known each other a few days, how do we know who we can trust? Ejiro. Besides, everyone will just vote for themselves. Denya. Most people will, but that means whoever does receive multiple votes must truly be the most suitable person for the job. It's the best way, right sir? Izawa. Do what you want, just decide before my nap's over. Izawa zipped up his bright yellow sleeping bag and fell to the floor. Denya. Thank you for your trust. This is going to be interesting, I thought to myself. The votes got tallied up. Voting results. 1. Izuku Sparta 5, Eri, Hinako, Ryashi, Shoka and Momo. 2. Izumi Yagi 3, Izuku, Shoto and Kitsumi. 3. Momo Yaoi Rozu 2, Tenya Iida, Hanta 0. Iida, 0 votes. I thought it was going to end this way, but I can't argue with the system I chose. I walked up to the front of my class with my sister. Izawa. Alright, Izuku is the class rep and our deputy is Izumi. Now for a little speech, I thought to myself. Izuku. Alright, everybody listen up. I'm not going to be super strict with you all, I'm happy as long as you don't cause any trouble. Kitsuki. What the hell? Who voted for this nerd? Izuku. Shut it, Kitsuki. Kitsuki. Like hell I will. I just sighed and walked back to where Eri was sitting and placed a hand on her head. Izuku. Want to go to lunch now? Eri. Yeah. What are we cooking? Izuku. Sorry Snowball, today we get to experience lunch rushes cooking. Eri. Oh, alright. I could hear Kitsuki fuming over me, practically ignoring him. Once Eri and I had gotten our food, we met up with our group and a couple of others. The full group looked to be Eri, Ryashi, Hinako, Izumi, Shoto, and Shoka. I sat down next to Hinako, then Eri squeezed between us, wanting to sit next to us both. I smiled at this. I felt someone lingering behind us, seemingly wanting to join, but too afraid. Izuku. I can feel you standing there, hurry up and come sit down, there's a free spot next to me. Itsumi. But, you. Izuku. I don't hate you, hurry up and sit down. Itsumi walked forwards and sat down next to me. Her shoulder muscles were tensed and she seemed to fear what I would do. I let out a groan. Izuku. Why are you afraid of me? Itsumi. Because of what we did in the past. Izuku. Funnily enough, I don't ever remember any of your explosions ever hitting me. Itsumi. How you noticed that? Izuku. Ha, yes. I only truly figured it out today, after our battle. Itsumi. How? Izuku. If this makes any sense, Kitsuki's explosions are more destructive, where yours have a more incendiary feel to them. Itsumi. Really? Izuku. Yeah, your explosions are softer than his. Now loosen up, you're surrounded by friends. Put a smile on that face. Itsumi couldn't help but smile at this comment. Izumi joined in, agreeing with me. Reeing. I looked up at the sound of the alarm. Loudspeaker. Warning, level 3 security breach, all students please evacuate the building in an orderly fashion. And that didn't happen. Everyone rushed to the exit, believing that a villain broke in. I had looked out the window and I saw that it was just the press. I sighed as I walked over to the mob of people, having already told my group to stay there as I will sort this out. I activated my Sin Devil trigger as I walked over to the mob. Izuku, Metallic. Oh, you ragtag group of nobodies. If that didn't get the mob's attention, the sheer amount of demonic energy that was leaking out of me did. Izuku, Metallic. To think that Japan's highest prestige hero school is trampling each other over a media break-in. Look out the window, you can see them. Sigh now, everybody line up in your classes and wait for your teachers to return, you scum. Mob. Yes, sir. I walked off letting my STT form fade. Next day. Izuku. Hinako, did you dye the ends of your hair green? Hinako blushed when I said this. Hinako. Why yes, I'm glad you noticed. You said to add some green into my costume, so instead, I decided to add some green into my everyday life. Izuku. Hey, it looks gorgeous on you. Before I could say anything more, Aizawa quietly opened the door. Aizawa. You're getting better at not wasting my time. Good. We'll be heading off campus today. 1A. What are we doing? Aizawa picked up a card and faced it towards us. Aizawa. Rescue training. All Might, me and another faculty member will be attending this outing. Izuku. Sir, will we be using our hero uniforms? Aizawa. Yes, we will be, although, you may not be used to your uniforms yet, so they may drag you down. Now all of you get ready and meet me at the bus in 10 minutes. Aizawa walked out of the classroom. I followed him with Eri behind me. Outside. Izuku. Here they come. Aizawa. Yep. They're getting better. Izuku. Sure thing, took them a lot less time than yesterday did. Izuku to 1A. Much better guys. Aizawa. I was going to say that. Izuku. This bus has an open floor plan, so as long as you don't cause too much chaos, you are free to enter however you see fit. Izuku entered the bus first with Eri, his group following closely behind. Hinako on Eri's right, me on her left, Ryashi on my left, Izumi on Hinako's right and Kitsumi on Izumi's right. I looked forward and saw Tsuyu Asui staring at me, seeming as if she was trying to figure something out. Tsuyu. Say Izuku, isn't your power and costume similar to that of Vergil's? Izuku. Correct Tsuyu. I'm surprised that you figured it out so quickly, seeing as I had changed the color to green and all. Tsuyu. Call me Tsu. All of my friends call me that. Izuku. Alright then Tsu. Allow me to explain my power. Basically, I am the successor of Vergil, and I am almost as strong as him in his prime. Sue. That's so cool. Izawa. Everyone, we're here. We all exited the bus. Some people's jaws dropped at the sight before them. I looked at the entrance and saw a pro hero that I recognized walking out. Hello Class 1A, and welcome to rescue training. Ichako. 13. I'm a huge fan of yours. I'm so excited that I get to meet you. 13. Nice to see a fan of mine. Izawa, where's All Might? Izawa walked up to 13 and whispered something. 13. Oh dear. Well everyone, let's enter the building. We followed after 13 and entered the USJ. We looked around and saw all of the different zones that they had. There was a city zone, a water zone, a fire zone and a forest zone. Izumi. Wow. This place is massive. Izuku. Right. Bajiro. Wow. You even have fake villains. Izawa. What? Bajiro. Over by the fountain down there. I looked where he was pointing and saw this purple mist thing start to form. Hundreds of villains started to walk out of the portal. The most prominent was a man with sky blue hair, dry skin and hands all over him. I turned to Izawa and saw him putting on his goggles. Izawa. Those aren't fake villains, those are the real thing. 13, stay here and protect the students. I'll go and take them out. Izuku Pav. I watched Izawa throw villains around with his capture weapon whilst erasing their quirks. I jumped down to join him. Izawa. What are you doing? You're supposed to stay up there with the rest of your classmates. Izuku. I can't let you have all of the fun now, can I? Also, everyone else got warped to different locations. Izawa. Damn it. If you can, let everyone know that they are allowed to use their quirks against these villains. Izuku. On it. I send Doppelganger to go to the announcement room. Doppelganger, USJ loudspeaker. All students, this is a message from Izawa. Izawa has given you all express permission to use your quirks to defend yourselves against the villains. Handyman. All Might was meant to be here. I came here to fight the final boss, not these NPCs. The man with the hand started to scratch his neck. Board gate. If you injure some of the kids, maybe he will show up, Shigaraki. Shigaraki. Good idea Kurogiri. Didn't that Sonic kid escape? Kurogiri. Yes, he may be on the way to alert All Might, so we may get our fun yet. Izuku. Hoi. What are you two talking about? I've already finished with these small fry scum. Shigaraki. He beat all of the villains I had gathered. Oh well. Kurogiri. Should I bring out the Nomu? Shigaraki. Yes. The one known as Kurogiri opened another portal and released this bird-like monster with an exposed brain. Shigaraki. What? Did you think I was the final boss? This is Nomu, he was made to beat All Might in his prime. I walk over to the Nomu, inspecting it. Shigaraki. Nomu. Attack. I moved my body back slightly to avoid its punch. It appeared to be a mindless being that follows orders. I pulled out Beowulf and punched the creature's chest. With Kitsumi and Izumi, Kitsumi Pav. We were walking around in a lush forest area. I could feel the auras of some villains in the forest. We avoided all of the villains until we heard a voice over the loudspeaker. Doppelganger, USJ loudspeaker. All students, this is a message from Izawa. Izawa has given you all express permission to use your quirks to defend yourselves against the villains. I couldn't help but grin at hearing this. I could feel a fire burning in my chest, it was growing stronger, just like in that fight with Izuku. But this time, it was different, more refined. I felt this fire flow out over my body as I transformed. Walking forwards to meet a villain who had seen us, I summoned some explosions from my hands. Kitsumi. Ready Izumi. Izumi. Let's do this. Kitsumi. Hellfire tangent. I exploded forwards. Explosions coming off of my back, propelling me forwards. I grabbed the villain by the throat. I moved her explosions from my back to my feet. I flew up to the top of the trees. I used my explosions to start rotating in the air. Kitsumi. Hellfire tangent. Cycle. I threw the villain at the ground, burying him headfirst in it. I switched my explosions to my back again. Izumi Pav. So, Hellfire tangent is a form of using her explosions to move around in a constant flow. This allows Kitsumi a higher movement speed. Kitsumi. Stop mumbling and get moving Izumi. Izumi. Right. I moved forwards, my set of 6 white swords floating off my back. I dashed forwards, with the swords flowing around me, cutting any who came close. I heard a loud slam in the distance. It could only be the sound of Izuku punching an enemy with his Beowulf. Kitsumi. Hellfire tangent. Impact. Kitsumi slammed straight into the ground, setting off a huge explosion. I watched in awe as she had only had one night to train with her new quirk and she seemed to already be doing well with it. Ryashi, Momo, Jiro, Dinky. Mountain's own, Ryashi Pav. That damn portal menace decided to teleport us all to different locations. Momo. There are villains, everybody stay sharp and try to avoid them. We all regrouped to their location. There was a total of 4 of us. We were about to get ready to run when we heard something over the loudspeaker. The FatedGil, USJ loudspeaker. All students, this is a message from Aizawa. Aizawa has given you all express permission to use your quirks to defend yourselves against the villains. Ryashi. Well, time to play. I summoned a new weapon to play with these villains. I decided to choose one that would allow me to show off my martial art skills, my triple nunchucks. Ryashi. King Cerberus. I ran around, using the nunchucks to freeze enemies in place. In a few seconds, half of the villains were unconscious. That's when I heard a loud bang and a body flop to the floor behind me. Ryashi. Thanks for the help, Momo. Momo. All you. I allowed King Cerberus to transform into a flaming BM staff. Using this to vault over my enemies and set them on fire. I ducked under a strike and slammed my staff into a villain's head. I then threw the staff up and threw the man at other villains. Momo. Ryashi. Get over here. Dinky is going to use his lightning. Ryashi. Tell him to fire it off. I can take it. Momo. Alright. Dinky. Hit them. Dinky. Indiscriminate shock. 1.3 million volts. I felt the electricity flow over me. I smiled as the electricity tickled. Ryashi. He short-circuited himself. That's when a villain popped up out of the ground and held his finger to Denki's head. A bunch more villains popped out of the ground. Villain 1. If you move, he dies. In a fraction of a second, I had grabbed the villain and threw him to the water section. Ryashi. Yeet. The villains looked at me shocked. I then allowed my weapon to enter its third form, a lightning-imbued 3-section staff. Spinning around throwing lightning everywhere, incapacitating any enemy who even tried to get close to me. Momo and Jiro took care of the ones who decided to run. I heard the sound of Izuku punching an enemy with Beowulf. Damn. He must be going up against a strong enemy for me to be able to hear the hit from here. As I was thinking this, I saw a huge explosion go off in the forest. Ryashi. Damn. She's really gotten good with her new quirk overnight. Middle of USJ, Izuku Pav. I looked at the creature that had just took one of my punches at 5%. I started to laugh. Izuku. Hehehe. Ha 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 ha. Now this is something motivating. Shigaraki looked confused as I released 10% of my power and punched again. Still nothing. 20% was still no reaction. Izuku. So it has some form of shock absorption quirk. That doesn't mean that it's immune to slicing. As I say this, I jump back and swap Beowulf with Yamato. Izuku. Judgment cut. I set off 3 consecutive judgment cuts, removing the creature's arms and a leg. I watched as it regenerated those limbs. Izuku. Oh. So it's one of his creations then. I max out my power to my current limits, 30% in danger situations, and activate Sin Devil trigger. I watch as the Nomu twitches in response and starts to grow in size. Izuku. Oh shit. So he's managed to find a way to access that place. Aizawa. What do you mean, problem child? Izuku. Whoever created this creature has somehow managed to find a way to gain access to the infinite plane of existence. Call it what you like, underworld, hell, demon world, netherworld, whatever. He has somehow imbued this Nomu with the powers of Goliath. I will eat all of you puny mortals. Izuku. Goliath. I shot 3 of my mirage blades on the shoulder of Goliath and walked up to his ear. Izuku. Hello, scum. Nice to finally meet you. I hope you pose a challenge. Goliath. Puny mortal. You think you can beat the likes of me? Izuku. Oh, on the contrary. I slice Goliath's arm off before he throws me away with the other arm. I stand up and summon the FatedGil. We both draw our Yamatos and teleport to Goliath. Shigaraki. Kurogiri, what happened to my Nomu? Kurogiri. I'm not sure, young master. I think it had something to do with that boy's awakening. Maybe it was a countermeasure against strong enemies. I sliced a fireball in half while the FatedGil ran up to Goliath. Goliath grabbed the FatedGil, his arm fully regenerated, and shoved him into his tummy mouth. I saw a streak of red flying towards us. It was Ryashi in his SDT form. Ryashi landed next to me. Izuku. Ryashi. Is that a fucking motorbike? Ryashi. Why yes it is. Its name is Cavalier. Izuku. Why? Why do you have weapons like this? Ryashi. What can I say, I'm a show-off. But that said, Ryashi hopped on the motorbike and rode off to Goliath. I ran forwards with him and was surprised when he jumped with the motorbike and it split into 2 weapons. Izuku. What the actual? You know what? Never mind. I followed Ryashi up Goliath, with both of us in our SDT forms. Goliath barely managed to hold his own. Ryashi was shredding him up with the spiked motorbike wheels while I slashed and used judgment cuts to make sure that Ryashi didn't get hit. Then out of nowhere, me and Ryashi got slammed into the ground by a massive sweeping backhand. I got up, my STT form fading. The same thing happened to Ryashi. Ryashi, shall I finish this? Izuku, go ahead. Ryashi pulled out his twin pistols, only to have one knocked out of his hands by a villain who was still conscious. I kicked him in the head and picked up the falling gun. Izuku, allow me to help. I sidewalked to where Ryashi was standing. We stood back to back and I placed my gun on his. Izuku, remember the old catchphrase? Ryashi, yeah. Izuku and Ryashi. Jackpot. The two bullets made their way to Goliath's head. One with a red contrail and one with a green one. Goliath held up his hands to block, but the bullets pierced through both of his arms and out the other side of his skull. The body fell to the ground and started to disintegrate. I tossed Ryashi's gun back to him as I walked over to Izawa, who was still laying on the floor. I looked over to where Shigaraki and Kurogiri was, but they were gone. I continued to walk to Izawa, looking over him to see if he had any injuries. Gladly, his only injury seemed to be some minor eye strain from quirk overuse. Third person Pav. All Might. I am. Here. He seemed confused. All of the villains were unconscious and Izuku was carrying Izawa. Izuku. You're late, All Might. All Might. What happened here? Izuku. Simple. I beat all of the villains. All Might was even more confused. All Might. Is everyone okay? Izuku. Everyone has minor injuries other than 13. I have already called an ambulance to pick her up and take her to the hospital. All Might then heard sirens in the distance. Izuku. Do you mind taking 13 to the ambulance? Carefully, I might add, seeing as you are a clumsy buffoon. All Might grunted angrily but did what he was told. At the end of the day, there were no casualties other than Goliath. But he would just regenerate in the underworld later. 13 was okay, just some minor lacerations to her back due to Kurogiri redirecting her black hole back at her. This would not be the last time that Izuku would see the League of Villains. After all, the mysterious Nomu creator had ties to the underworld. That would have to wait. After all, Izuku had to go check on a certain Yakuza leader, with Nezu's permission of course. Izuku Pav. I was walking furiously to Nezu's office. I appeared to be radiating bloodlust as all of the teachers that tried to stop me backed away after looking into my eyes. Izawa walked up to me. I grabbed his capture weapon and dragged him with me. Next, I saw Snipe. I grabbed him by the cape and dragged him as well. Snipe to Izawa. So, you're here too. Izawa. Yup. Snipe. No why. Izawa. Nope. Both pro-heroes dropped to the floor as Izuku held up his hand to knock on Nezu's door. Knock. 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 Crack. Nezu. Come in Izuku. A little bit earlier, Nezu Pav. I was sitting in my office, sipping on my tea whilst reading through Shota Izawa's notes on Eri's training. I smiled, thinking of the little girl. If anyone harms her, I will show them a fate worse than death. I took another sip of tea as I heard footfalls outside my door. They stopped with the sound of two bodies hitting the floor. Knock. 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 Crack. I looked at the fist that had just put a hole in my door. I hope Izuku had a good reason for being this angry. Nezu. Come in Izuku. I watched as the hand retracted through the door. The door then opened to reveal Izuku, Shota, and Snipe. Nezu. Now, care to tell me why you put a hole in my door? I said this while glaring at the kid. Izuku. Eri told me everything. Now I was curious, what did Eri tell him? Izuku. I will give you the short version. Eri was used as an item for Overhaul to use to get rid of quirks. He kept her in a room with no windows. He constantly, painfully, extracted her blood to make quirk erasing bullets. The reason why she had bandages on her arms was because of all of the needle scars she had. My smile dropped. Shota and Snipe looked on with fear. Nezu, Malice. And what do you plan to do about it? Izuku, Malice. I plan to wipe the Shai Hasekai of the face of the earth. With your permission and help, along with Izawa and Snipe. Nezu. Deal. Izawa. What do you plan to do with Overhaul? Izuku and Nezu, Malice. Give him a fate worse than death. Nezu. How does the night that the sports festival is on? Izuku. I can work with that. Is it okay if some of my friends help? Nezu. I assume those people are Hinako, Ryashi and Izumi. Izuku. And Katsumi. Nezu. Oh. So you have forgiven her? Izuku. Not fully. But an old friend of mine said that everyone deserves a second chance. Nezu. Well, that settles it. After the sports festival, get your friends and meet me at Dod. I will have weapons and gear set up for us. Izuku. Snipe, do you have guns I could borrow for the night? Snipe. Why do you want? Nezu. Sorry to interrupt, Snipe, but I think that Izuku will need a gun if we are trying to go under the radar. A flashy quirk like Izuku's would be easily recognizable, especially so soon after the sports festival. I grabbed a Glock 18C from under my desk and placed it on top. Everyone was shocked, other than Izuku. Shota. Nezu. Why do you have a gun? Nezu. I visited America a while back, and let's say that their love for guns has rubbed off on me. Snipe. Why did I know that this was the answer? I pulled out a gun from my drawer. Nezu. I could get a licensed sidearm for you, Izuku, here are your options. That first one, Glock 18C chambered in 9x 19mm. That one I pulled out just now is the Desert Eagle chambered in .50 Action Express. But I think you would prefer this third one I have. I grabbed my third sidearm from my desk's bottom drawer. Snipe. Nezu. How do you have this? Nezu. The Smith & Wesson 500 bone collector, chambered in .50 S&W special. Izuku. Oh uncle. You know that I love guns almost as much as you. Shota raised his eyebrows at this. Izuku. What? Like I would tell anyone. Wouldn't want people to think I'm a quirkless murderer. Nezu. I swear. Kitsuki. Izuku. Yep. Him. Shota. Ugh, he's such a pain. Always yelling die. I can't handle him without a coffee. I raised my eyebrow at this. Shota. Did I say A? I meant 20. Izuku. How long would it take you to get me the bone collector, uncle? Nezu. I have some connections in the American and Japanese governments, so. Maybe 3 days. Snipe. 3 days. It took 3 weeks for me to get mine. 3 weeks. Nezu. Well, now you know. Snipe. Know what? Nezu. If you ever need help getting a gun, I'm your rat. Mouse. Bear. Principal of UA. Snipe. Kind of wish I have a sniper. Nezu. Which one do you want? Seeing as I am putting in an order for Izuku, I might as well put one in for you. Snipe looked at me, probably with surprise. I don't know what that mask of his. Snipe. Really thanks, Nezu. Nezu. Shota. Do you want one too? Shota. No thanks, Nezu. Zashi would kill me. Nezu. Fair enough. Now, Snipe, what sniper do you want? Snipe. Orsis T5000 chambered in 6.5 x 47mm Lapua. Nezu. Excellent choice. Snipe. Oh, also, could you get it in full black as well? Nezu. That's no problem. Izuku. Hey Nezu. Nezu. Yeah. Izuku. What gun will you be using? Nezu. The Barrett M82. Chambered in .50 BMG. Snipe. That's an anti-material rifle. Why do you have one? Nezu. A gift from the number 3 hero in America. His hero name was Marksman, but all of the villains called him the Gun Devil. I pressed a button that was underneath the table, and a wall rose out of the floor. I walked over and put the parts together on my desk. Nezu. Izuku, one day you should come over to my home, and we can go shoot some guns at the firing range if you want. Izuku. That sounds like a lot of fun, uncle. Nezu. Remember what I said about this gun, Izuku. Izuku. Yeah. Nezu and Izuku. This is an anti-material rifle. It's not chambered for nuance. Izuku Pav. I walked back to my dorm room. Classes were already finished, that's why I had gone to Nezu to talk about what Eri had told me. I swear, Chisaki, I will find you, even if I have to hunt you to the ends of this earth. As I entered the dorms, I saw Ryashi and Eri preparing some stuff for Katsuden. Izuku. Ooh. Katsuden. Ryashi. Yep, want to come help? Izuku. Yes. As I walked to Ryashi, Momo grabbed my arm. Momo. Izuku, please stop throwing knives around while cooking, it's unsafe. Izuku. Sorry Momo, can't guarantee anything. I smile at her and walk over to the kitchen. We started to cook the katsudon. Ryashi was in charge of cooking the chicken while I prepared the rice. Everyone had started to come out of their rooms. They were all watching Ryashi and I cook. I can't lie, watching us throw knives around does seem to intrigue people. Ryashi grabbed the pan of chicken, turned around to bring it over and slipped, dropping the pan. This pan happened to be heading straight for Eri. I moved over to Eri, catching the pan by the metal. Izuku. Are you alright, Eri? Eri. Why yes papa. Izuku. Good. Momo. Izuku. Izuku. Yeah, what's up Momo? Momo. Your hand. I only now hear the sound of sizzling. I walk over and put the pan down next to the sink. I watch as the burns heal themselves immediately. Enki. How do you not feel anything from that? Izuku. Long story. I'll tell you all once dinner is ready. Ryashi. Sorry man, are you good? Izuku. Yeah, it's fine. Let's finish the meals. Ryashi. On it. We finished the meals, this time there weren't any more slip-ups. Once the food was handed out, I decided to tell everyone about my pain tolerance. Izuku. So, you must be wondering why I have a high pain tolerance, right? Most of the people around the table said yes, other than the people who already knew. Izuku. Story time. I was bullied for most of my life. I will not say who it was, as I don't want to ruin their chances of being a hero. I believe everyone deserves a second chance. But this bully and his group used their quirks to physically abuse me from since I was 4, up until 10 months before the UA entrance exam. Mina. That's horrible. Ejiro. Yeah, not manly at all. Momo. Why did they do this? You have such a powerful quirk. Izuku. Yeah, about that. It's not a quirk. 1A. What? Izuku. My quirk is the direct power of someone that was passed down to me. The sword, strength and all of the other things that come with it aren't mine. And I didn't get my quirk until 10 months before the entrance exam, so I was quirkless. Panta. Well, whose was it? Izuku. Do any of you all know of the old-time devil hunters? Denki. The Devil May Cry crew. Izuku. Yes. Everyone nodded their heads in agreement, showing me that they knew. Izuku. So, in their last fight against Demon King Urizen, one of the members, who goes by V, turned out to be the human half of Urizen. Denki. Then the two combined back into one person, resurrecting Vergil. Izuku. Ah, we have a fanboy I see. Denki. Can you blame me? Izuku. As a fellow fan, no. So now that's the backstory basically. Momo. Wait. You're saying that you have the powers of Vergil? Izuku. Bingo. Everyone's jaw dropped at this. Hanako walked up to me and wrapped me in a hug. Hanako. And I am the direct descendant of Vergil and Nero. Ryashi. I'm Dante's descendant. Denki. I think we should call your group the new TMC. Izuku. Wait a second. Denki. Raise your hands if you agree. I looked around in despair as everyone other than Katsuki raised their hands. Denki. That settles it then. Izuku. Sigh alright. Technically we can't be the new DMC due to there being no more demons. I let the sentence trail off, remembering the Nomu turning into Goliath. Izuku. Right. So our group of 8 are the new DMC. Denki. 8. Izuku. Ryashi, Hanako, Eri, Izumi, Shoto, Shoka, Kitsumi, and me. I looked at the pure shock and rage on Katsuki's face as he turned to face his sister, who was sitting with Mina and Momo. Katsuki. Why you? I snapped my fingers, suddenly standing next to Katsuki. Izuku. Choose your next words carefully. Katsuki. You quirkless mob. I socked Katsuki in the jaw before he could finish what he was saying. Izuku. Watch your language, Kaken. I said his nickname with as much hatred and malice as I could. Most of the people in the room could figure out by now who the bully was. Tenya. Stop fighting, this isn't fit for hero students. Izuku. Sorry Tenya, but he kind of deserved it. I had to deal with him for 10 years, it's only fair. Katsuki. I will kill you Deku. Izuku. Same old threats, blah blah blah, kill you Deku this, quirkless nobody that. At least be a bit more creative and make up a new insult, instead of recycling the old ones. Third person Pav. Katsuki was shocked by this. Izuku would usually cower away from his insults. Where did this confidence come from? Then he remembered something. The only time that useless Deku showed fear was when that pan went flying at the little girl. Izuku saw Katsuki's eyes dart towards Eri. As I opened my mouth to speak, Katsuki ran over and grabbed Eri's head. The little girl screamed in fear. Izuku stopped dead in his tracks, fear on his face. Everyone was silent with shock. Katsuki. Haha. Not so confident now Deku. Katsuki let off a small explosion next to the girl's head, making her cry. Suddenly the room went cold. Everyone looked over at the Todoroki twins, but it wasn't their doing. They looked back at Izuku, and everyone froze. His eyes were red and steam was coming off his body. Izuku, bloodlust. Now you've done it. Izuku summoned Yamato and shot a mirage blade into Katsuki's hand, making him scream in pain and drop Eri, who ran over to Hanako. Izuku teleported behind Katsuki and was about to stab him when Ryashi flew forward and punched Izuku in the head with Balrog, knocking him out. Ryashi then turned around and kicked Katsuki upside the head. Katsuki flew at least a foot in the air before slamming into the ground. Ryashi looked at the class and shrugged. Ryashi. That's what he gets for messing with Izuku's daughter. Everyone gulped. Now Izuku had proved his point from the first day and everyone feared and respected him more. Eri. Is Papa okay? Hanako, who was still holding Eri, replied. Hanako. Yes he is, little snowball. Eri. Mama, I'm scared. Hanako's eyes widened at this. Eri had called her mama. Hanako smiled while hugging her daughter tighter. Hanako. It's okay little one, he can't hurt you anymore. Izawa burst through the front door of the dorms, his eyes glowing and his capture weapon readied. He looked at the scene in front of him and sighed. Izawa. What did Katsuki do this time? Ryashi. He threatened Eri. Izawa. He did what now? Hanako. He grabbed Eri and used her as a hostage to scare Izuku. Izuku snapped and almost killed him. Izawa. Understandable. Ryashi, you grab Izuku, I'll grab Katsuki, and we will head to Recovery Girl. Ryashi nodded and picked up Izuku and followed Izawa to the medical wing. Shigaraki. Master, what happened to turn that Nomu into a giant? Ah, yes. That was a countermeasure intended to make sure that if the creature couldn't beat All Might as it was, it would get stronger and kill him anyway. Kurogiri. However, that failed. How? Shigaraki. Master, all for one, there was a green-haired boy with a katana and a white-haired boy with a red trench coat and a motorbike who easily defeated the creature. All for one. I see, so we have a new generation of DMC members then. No matter, I will make stronger Nomus. Kurogiri, train Tamura some more while I go and make more Nomus. But this, I disconnected from the call. I sighed. I turned around to talk to my co-conspirator, you could say. All for one. Hey, do you have any stronger demons I could put in my Nomus? That's no way to speak to a king. All for one. Sorry, Lord Mundus, Prince of Darkness. Mundus. Now, let's see if we can't get some more demons that want to be free. Izuku Pav. We walked out to the sound of a roaring crowd. Hanako. Holy crap. Izawa wasn't kidding, everyone is here. I just nodded and continued as I walked out and saw people everywhere. There were heroes, civilians and important businessmen. But 3 people caught my eye. 2 of them were arguing while one was staring at us. 2 of them were men and the other was a woman. Ryashi tapped me on the shoulder and I looked over at him. Ryashi. Who are you looking at? Izuku. Those 3 up there. They were gone. There were different people in their seats, as if they were never there. Ryashi. Which 3? Izuku. Never mind. I was just seeing things. Ryashi looked at me with a confused look on his face. Before he could say anything, there was a loud cracking noise. Midnight. Everyone, pay attention. Nope. I started to look around the stadium again, looking to see if I could find anyone I knew. A skinny blonde man caught my eye. He was sitting next to a green-haired woman. Ah, so Toshinori and Inko are here. I look around the competitors again and smile. Katsuki wasn't here. Flashback. Katsuki Pav. I woke up in an unfamiliar bed. I saw Izawa sitting next to me. Katsuki. Erg. What happened? I feel like I was hit by a truck. Izawa. Not far off. Do you remember what happened? I thought for a second, then tried to sit up. Clink. The sound of handcuffs startled me out of my thoughts. I started to roll around, trying to escape from the handcuffs. Katsuki. What the hell is this? Did Deku do this? I grabbed onto the handcuffs and activated my quirk. But nothing happened. I looked at Izawa, but his quirk wasn't active. He walked over and took the sheet off of me, and I saw the handcuffs. They were quirk-canceling cuffs. Izawa. You're staying here until after the sports festival. You're lucky. Nezu only gave you a warning because you never physically injured the girl. Next time he won't be so lenient. Izuku, far. Where am I? I heard that Deku's voice and started to strain against my restraints again, trying to break free and get that worthless nerd. Katsuki. Let me out. Izuku. Oh, he's here. Izawa walked over to the curtained-off area and moved the curtain away, revealing Izuku chained to his bed with quirk-canceling handcuffs. Izawa. Izuku, don't even try and use your quirk to escape. Izuku. Funny thing, Izawa. Izuku used his physical strength and ripped the cuffs apart. He stood up and walked back to the dorm. Izuku. I'm fine, Izawa. I won't attack him unless he does something stupid again. That damn nerd. He thinks he can take me. Me. Is he delusional, that quirkless idiot? Can he even protect his own daughter properly? Suddenly, I felt tired. Izawa. Sorry kid, can't have you shouting up the place. Sleep tight. End of flashback. Izuku Pav. We all walked over to a hallway that led out of the stadium. Izuku. Ryashi, what's happening? I wasn't paying attention. Ryashi. Of course you weren't. We're doing an obstacle course. Izuku. Sounds fun. Midnight 3, 2, 1, go. With the crack of the whip, we all rushed into the hallway. We immediately got frozen. Shoto. Sorry guys, but we are going to win this round. Izuku. In your dreams. Ryashi, Hanako and I broke out of the ice. The Todoroki twins legged it while we freed Kitsumi and Izumi and followed. We also saw Momo ahead. She created a cannon like she did in the aptitude test and shot it at a 0-pointer, immediately disabling it as it was a headshot. I looked at my group and grinned. Izuku. Race ya. I didn't wait for a response and immediately sprinted away. I heard a hey from Hinako. I grinned at Momo as I ran past her, closely followed by Ryashi, then Hinako, Izumi and Kitsumi. The next obstacle was a tightrope challenge that the Todoroki twins had already passed. I shrugged and activated SDT and just flew over the pit. I flew up next to the Todoroki twins as they were using their ice to fly over the minefield. I flew past them with a big grin on my face as I was ahead of them and Ryashi. I had this race in the bag. Or so I thought. I flinched as I heard a loud explosion and saw Kitsumi speed past me. I was wide-eyed as she passed the finish line in first. I was close behind her in second, but still, where did the speed come from? I saw her laying on the ground, breathing hard, not seeming to be able to take air in. She was winded and was scared about not being able to breathe. I rushed over to her. Izuku, hey Kitsumi. Look at me. Copy what I do, okay? I grabbed her hands. Izuku. Now, breathe in slowly, and then out. She copied my breathing and soon calmed down. The rest of the group was here by now. I stood up and pulled her up. Izuku. You okay now? Kitsumi. Yeah. Thanks Izuku. I was so scared. I couldn't breathe. Her hands were shaking. She had fear in her eyes. Izuku. Hey, look at me. There you go. You're safe now. I could tell that there was another reason for her fear of not being able to breathe, but I'll ask her after the festival. Midnight congratulated us on our positions. Next was a cavalry battle. Midnight explained the rules, and we all made the teams. After the cavalry battles, we got some time to rest in the break rooms. Due to safety precautions, Nezu decided to build a private break lobby area for the students to rest in and provided some TVs to watch the rounds. The TV currently showed us the bracket of the first round. Round 1. Battle 1. Izuku Sparta vs Hitachi Shinso. Battle 2. Shoto Todoroki vs Hantasiro will be skipped. Battle 3. Izumi Yagi vs Ibara Shiozaki. Battle 4. Ryashi Sparta vs Tenya Ida. Battle 5. Mina Ishido vs Hanako Sparta. Battle 6. Momo Yaoi Rozu vs Fumikage Tokoyami will be skipped. Battle 7. Ijiro Kirishima vs Tetsu will be skipped. Battle 8. Kitsumi Bakugo vs Ichako Uraraka. I looked at the first match and sighed. This may be difficult. I don't know how this guy's quirk works or what it was. I was sitting in the waiting room for the first match while my opponent was introduced to the crowd. I heard my name and walked out of the door. Everyone cheered as I walked onto the field. Midnight. Are you ready? We both nodded. When the whip cracked, I casually walked forwards. Itachi. Why do you want to be a hero? Izuku. To prove to those. Itachi. Walk out of the arena. Third person Pav. Izuku walked towards the edge of the arena. People were confused by what he was doing. Suddenly, a massive burst of demonic energy erupted from Izuku, breaking Hitachi's hold on him. Izuku. Neat trick. Izuku summoned Yamato to hand. Hitachi. Ugh, wow, you have such a powerful quirk, you are already set up to be a hero. Izuku. Seems unfair, huh? Hitachi. What? Izuku. Seems unfair that I have a more powerful quirk than you, right? That's what you are thinking. Hitachi. Yeah, so what? It's true. Izuku. Newsflash, I only got this quirk 10 months before the entrance exam. Hitachi. What? Izuku. I was bullied for not having a quirk, I was in the same boat for a while. Hitachi looked at Izuku as he walked up to him. Izuku Pav. Izuku. Your quirk is so cool. Imagine what you could do with it. You could stop hostage situations with a single question. Hitachi. But my quirk is villainous. Izuku. My quirk is the same as a person who was a villain. But here I am. There is no such thing as heroic or villainous quirks, people who think otherwise are quirkist assholes. Hitachi stared at me and smiled. Hitachi, thank you Izuku. You have no idea how much that meant to me. Izuku. I'm just here, doing my job. Friends. I held out my hand to him, which he took. Hitachi. Friends. He then turned around and walked out of the ring. Hitachi. I have lots to learn. Thanks for enlightening me Izuku. Next year, I will beat you. Izuku. I'm counting on it. Midnight. Oh, that's so sweet. Izuku Sparta wins. I turned around and walked out of the arena, back to the waiting room. I sat down with my group, who congratulated me, and we watched the next round. I knew that Shoto had crazy ice power, but this isn't what I thought they meant. Half of the arena was frozen. I could hear Uncle Enji and Auntie Ray cheering for him. Enji. Shituo. That's my boy. Ray. That's my son. Show them the power of ice. I laughed at their reactions. Must be great to have supportive parents. I looked over at Shoka, who was a bit down as she didn't win the cavalry battle. I walk up and put a hand on her shoulder. Izuku. Hey, don't look so down, you did great. I'm sure you will win next year. Shoka smiled at this and nodded her thanks. I smiled at her and walked back over to Hinako. We sat down on the couch together, my arm around her shoulders and her head resting on my shoulder. Shoka was sitting on the couch to the left of us. Ryashi was on the right couch, alone as Izumi had gone to prepare for her match. I watched as Katsumi sat down next to Shoka. The two started talking. I noticed how close Katsumi was sitting to Shoka. Katsumi noticed me staring, so I grinned at her. She nervously smiled back and continued to talk with Shoka. Katsumi's arm was resting on the couch back behind Shoka, but I saw the arm moving closer to Shoka. Shoka jumped when she felt an arm wrap around her. She looked at Katsumi, who was red in the face. Katsumi started apologizing and pulled her arm away, only for Shoka to grab it and put it back. Katsumi's eyes widened as Shoka leaned into her embrace. She looked over Yomi, blushing. I gave her a thumbs up. I looked over at Ryashi, who was fiddling with his guns. Izuku. Oi, Ryashi. Ryashi. Yeah. Izuku. She has more balls than you. Hurry up and confess to my sister already. This earned a laugh from Shoka and Katsumi. I felt Hinako shaking, trying to hold back her laughter. Ryashi. Fine. I'll go do it after her round. Izuku. Speaking of, there she goes now. Izumi Pav. I walked out onto the field, hearing the roaring crowd. I smiled. I looked at my opponent for this round. She had green hair, seemingly made of vines. Ibara Shiozaki her name was. Midnight. Are both of you ready? Izumi. Yep. I did some neck stretches while Libara nodded to Midnight's question. Midnight. And. Go. She cracked her whip and I was off. I activated Ofa at 5% and blasted forwards, surprising the girl, who seemed to be praying. She used her hair as a shield, which forced me to dodge over. I landed on the other side and used my telekinesis to lift her up. She shot her vines at me. I dropped her and used my telekinesis to form an invisible shield around me. I rushed forwards with 10% Ofa and punched her vine shield. She was blasted back, but stopped just before the line as she used her vines to pin herself in place. I tugged her towards me, before punching her again. Izumi. Momentum reversal. I used my telekinesis to add extra power to the punch, sending her flying out of the ring. I grabbed her with my telekinesis and placed her gently on the ground. Midnight. Izumi Yagi wins. The crowd cheers at my victory. I ignore the sounds of my father cheering from the crowd. Izumi. Great work Ibara. Ibara. You were an excellent opponent. You never got cocky, an excellent child of God. I smiled at her. Izumi. I have an idea of something you could do with your quirk. If you sent the vines underground while you had the shield up, you could use it as a sneak attack. Ibara. I never thought of that. It seems that God has blessed you with amazing wisdom too. Izumi. Thanks Ibara. We both walked back to the lobby area to rest. I saw Ryashi standing by the entrance. I walked over to him. Before I could get to him, I was hit with a massive headache and started to fall. I was caught by Ryashi. Ryashi. Wrap your arms around my neck, I'll take you back. I followed his request as he picked me up bridal style and carried me back to the room. He placed me on the couch and walked off. I looked over and saw that Izuku had his arm around Hinako while they were sitting down. I also saw Katsumi and Shoka in the same position. I smiled and gave them a thumbs up. Suddenly, I felt a hand on my head, gently pulling my head back. I let out a sigh of relief as something cold was placed on my forehead. I thanked Ryashi as he sat down next to me. I felt Ryashi's head move close to my ear. I gasped in surprise at the feeling of his breath. He then whispered into my ear. Ryashi, whisper. I love you Izumi, I have for a while now. He then wrapped his arm around me and I rested my head against his shoulder, surprised by the confession. I smiled and was probably red in the face. But I was happy, the happiest I have ever been. Third person Pav. The next round was Ryashi against Tenya. Izumi wanted to hold him longer, but she sadly accepted that he had to go win his round. And when he did, Ryashi easily used Tenya's speed against him. Tenya ran straight at Ryashi, who dodged and pushed him straight out of the ring. He had won in 5 seconds. He walked back to the new DMC and sat down with Izumi, resuming their previous position. Before Hinako left to get ready, Izuku had to inform the group of something. Izuku. Everyone, after this sports festival is over, meet me at my room, there is something that Nezu and I have to inform you in private. Ryashi. Anything you can tell us about now? Izuku. It's an off-the-books mission. Hidden under the excitement of the sports festival. Ryashi. Sounds fun. Izuku. Yeah. Hanako. Right. Well, better head to the arena now, see ya peeps. Izuku watched as Hanako left to fight in her match. He sighed, wondering if she would draw out the match or end it quickly. Hanako was walking out to the battlefield looking at her opponent. Hanako. To fight quickly. Mina. What in the hell? Hanako. Whoops, sorry, habit from my boyfriend. Midnight. Are you two ready? Mina. Yes. Hanako. Yeah. Midnight. And. Go. I jumped immediately at the crack of the whip and activated my devil trigger. Everyone in the stands was shocked at the sight of Hanako's DT form. She heard some gasps, and some people were asking if she was a devil. She laughed at this, wondering what their reaction to Izuku's SDT form would be. Hanako Pav. I was flying around, avoiding Mina's acid that she was throwing at me. I waited for an opening before doing anything. Patience is a virtue, as an opening was given by the enemy herself. Mina had slipped on her own acid. She managed to get up and throw a punch at me as I landed. I dodged the punch while grabbing her wrist. I threw her over my shoulder. She bounced once inside the ring, then 2 more times outside the ring. Midnight. Hanako Sparta wins. As I entered the lobby area, I watched as Ryashi sheepishly passed Izuku 5,000 yen. Hanako. Saw you 2 bet on my match. Izuku. Of course. I was certain you would play it safe and win, whereas Ryashi thought you would rush in without waiting but still win. So I won the bet. Hanako. Ugh, of course. I said this with a smile as I cuddled up against Izuku. I looked up at the TV and saw that Momo and Fumikage were up next. I was shocked. Momo wasn't able to do anything about Fumikage's dark shadow. Izuku. Huh, that goes to show. The recommendation doesn't mean that they are truly better. I smacked his chest. Hanako. Oi, she tried her best at least. Izuku. You're right. Dark shadow is just too strong for her current state. Ryashi. Ooh. Ijiro is up now. Izuku. Yes, this will be an interesting match. 2 people with very similar quirks. I looked over at the TV and saw Ijiro walking up to the stage now. Izuku. Huh, an arm wrestle to decide the winner. That's a good way of settling it. Katsumi. Yeah, seems fun. Izuku. Come to think of it, aren't you up next, Katsumi? Katsumi. Ugh, you don't have to remind me. I laughed at this. Hanako. Gotten comfortable, have you? Katsumi. Fine, yes I have. I could hear Izumi and Izuku holding back their laughter. I could also see Shoka giggling uncontrollably in Katsumi's arms. Izuku. Well, cousin-in-law, you better head off. Katsumi. Yeah, wait, what did you call me? Now Izuku was laughing at a red-faced Katsumi. We all were. Shoka grabbed her hand and dragged her to the door leading to the arena waiting room. Shoto finally returned from having a chat with his mum and dad. Shoto. What did I miss? Izuku. Katsumi and Shoka got together. Ryashi and Izumi also got together. Shoto. Good for them. Izuku. It's your turn next. Shoto. Huh. How do you know? Izuku. Know what? Shoto. Izuku. Ooh. Does little cousin Shoto have a crush already? Shoto. Maybe. Izuku. Don't worry about it for now. Let's just watch your sister's girlfriend's match. Shoto. Yeah. Let's. With that, we all waited in anticipation to see what Katsumi would pull off. Katsumi Pav. I dodged away from Michako's hands. I didn't want to get thrown out of the area easily. I set off an explosion in front of me, trying to knock her away. When the smoke cleared, she wasn't there. I sensed a presence behind me and turned. Michako was behind me, she managed to get me with her quirk. I started to float away, but I righted myself with my quirk. I flew at her with my explosions. I managed to get behind her and put her in a chokehold. Katsumi. Sorry, but you need to be a little bit quicker than that. Midnight. You're Raka, can you move? Michako tried to escape the hold, but she couldn't. She went limp in defeat. Michako. No, I can't. Midnight. Midnight. Katsumi Bakugo wins. When I returned to the lobby, I was suddenly wrapped in a hug from Shoka. Shoka. You did excellent out there, cat. Katsumi. Thanks, Sho. A couple of us jumped at the sound of a phone. Izuku pulled out his phone with a confused look, which slowly turned to one of worry as he read who the caller was. He picked up the call and walked to a different room. Shoto. Something seriously bad is going on. I haven't seen that facial expression in a while. Shoka. Yeah. We heard him shouting in the other room. I could only make out a he what Izuku eventually returned with an angry look. Izuku. Before anyone asks, I'll tell you at the meeting later. He then walked over to Hinako and rested his head on her lap and went to sleep immediately. Hinako. That bad, huh? Izuku Pav. Izuku. Hello uncle, what seems to be the problem? Nezu, phone. Kitsuki has disappeared. Izuku. He what? Nezu, phone. The quirk-canceling handcuffs were decayed. Izuku. The love. Nezu, phone. Exactly. Inform your squad about this info later. Izuku. No problem, uncle. See you later tonight. Nezu, phone. Yep, the Yakuza fall tonight. Izuku. Oh, is Iri with you? Nezu, phone. Yep, she's enjoying the festival. Izuku, that's good. Nezu, phone. Well, I'm off now, got some paperwork to do. Izuku. Bye uncle. I walked back to the room where everyone was. They all looked at me, waiting for me to say something. Izuku. Before anyone asks, I'll tell you at the meeting later. I then lay down on Hanako's lap and let the darkness of sleep take me. Third person Pav. Hanako just sat there, running her hands through Izuku's hair while everyone sat down, waiting for the next match. Present Mick. Can I get a Yaya? Proud. Yaya. Present Mick. Round 2 is starting now. The bracket will be put on screen now. Round 2. Battle 1. Izuku Sparta vs Shoto Todoroki. Battle 2. Izumi Yagi vs Ryashi Sparta. Battle 3. Hinako Sparta vs Fumikichi Tokoyami. Battle 4. Ijiro Kirishima vs Katsumi Bakugo. Present Mick. Whoa. Look at that. We have Izuku Sparta vs Shoto Todoroki first. Got anything to say, Eraser? Izawa, tired. Looks like a lot of damage. Present Mick. You heard it here first folks. Will Izuku Sparta and Shoto Todoroki make their way to the arena? Izuku woke up to the loud shouting of Present Mick, along with a nudge from Hinako. He got up without a word and walked to the arena. The gel in his hair had finally come out for today due to all of the action, so it covered his eyes. There was a small sense of fear from everyone as they didn't want to upset an already mad Izuku. Shoto didn't see Izuku wake up as he was already heading out to the arena. Before he knew it, Izuku was in the area, ready to fight. Midnight. Are you ready? Both members nodded. Midnight. And. Go. Shoto Pav. At the crack of the whip, I immediately sent my ice in a big wave, trying to end this quickly, like in the first round. Izuku however, drew his sword and sliced the ice before it got to him. I sighed and activated my fire side. Shoto. Not going to go down that easily huh? He didn't respond. Odd. His hair was no longer slicked back like usual. I couldn't see his eyes. He suddenly ran at me. I held my left hand up and sent a wave of fire at him. Instead of dodging like a normal person, he ran straight through the fire. His shirt had started to burn. He didn't seem to care. He undid the buttons. I sighed, knowing what I would see. There was a loud gasp from the crowd as Izuku's shirt flew out of the arena, carried off by the wind. Slowly burning to ashes. There was no sound from the crowd or the announcers. They were too shocked by the amount of scars that Izuku had. He was covered in explosion scars. There was even a hand-shaped scar on his sternum. But I already knew all of this. I summoned ice to block a sudden sword slash from him. The sword disappeared and was replaced by his gauntlets. I heard a weird noise and looked up. I shot ice above me as a bunch of green energy knives fell from the sky. This distraction allowed Izuku to break the ice that I had used to block. I jumped back. Izuku's hair had moved from in front of his eyes for a second, and what I saw shocked me. His eyes were blue. Izuku's eyes are normally green. His hair suddenly turned white. Izuku smiled, sheathed his sword, dashed forward faster than I could follow, and jabbed the sheathed sword into my gut, launching me out of the ring. There was still no sound from the crowd. I looked over at Izuku as Midnight announced him as the winner. His eyes faded from blue back to green, and his hair went from white to green as well. His sword disappeared as he walked over to me and offered me his hand. I took it and he helped me stand. He put my arm around his shoulder and helped me walk back. Shoto. Ouch. That one really hurt, Izuku. Izuku? What? Oh that. Yeah, sorry about that. I wasn't in control. Shoto. Oh. What happened? I pulled a notebook out of my non-existent pockets, titled, Theories. Izuku. I'll tell you later. Also, it's good to see that you have picked up my old ability. Shoto. Thanks. It's pretty useful, as it allows me to keep more information. We got to the lobby area. Izuku placed me on a couch next to. Oh no. Momo. I looked up at Izuku, pleading him to not do this with my eyes. He just cheekily grinned at me and sat down next to Hinako. He had figured it out. I have a crush on Momo. Third person Pav. Izuku decided that this would be a good idea to show off one of his new abilities. Izuku opened a small circular portal and reached in. Izuku, anyone want a drink? Most people declined. Izumi asked for a Powerade, Ryashi asked for a red Monster energy drink, and Izuku grabbed a white Monster for himself. Izuku watched Momo and Shoto awkwardly talk to each other. They both had a crush on each other, and both didn't realize that the other had a crush on them. Izuku looked up as Ryashi and Izumi stood up for their match. Izuku, good luck you two. Izumi, thanks big brother. Ryashi, thanks Izuku. Izuku watched the TV as the two were introduced by Present Mick. I remembered something, so I stood up and opened the small portal again. I pulled out a UA gym shirt, put it on, and sat back down with Hanako. Izuku could have sworn that he heard a sad sigh. Izuku decided to question it. Izuku, oh, would you prefer me to not have a shirt on? Hanako, huh? I laughed. That's all the reaction I needed. Izuku, ha 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 ha. Oh my god, you should have seen your face. Hanako, quietly, you're mean. I wrapped my arms around her and pulled her head into my chest. She proceeded to gently punch it. She looked up with a red face. I smiled and ran my hands through her white hair, admiring the green ends. Ryashi Pav. I was pulled forwards immediately after the whip crack. I dropped into my defensive stance just before I got hit. Ryashi, Royal Guard. I absorbed the blow and backflipped away. Izumi immediately followed. This was a mistake. I shot at her with ebony and ivory, once from each gun. She grabbed the bullets with her telekinesis, but that required all of her focus. While she was distracted by the bullets, I rushed at her and picked her up. I threw her to the other side of the arena. I followed after immediately. I pulled out Balrog and punched her while she was still in the air. This finally pushed her out of the arena, giving me the win. Ryashi. Sorry about that, I just kind of wanted to face Izuku in the next round. Izumi. I don't mind, I didn't expect to win that round anyway. We walked back together. We entered the lobby area and saw Shoto and Momo still chatting along happily. It was a surprise, seeing Shoto with a smile on his face. As we sat down, Hanako stood up and walked off to her match. Izuku just sat there, seeming as if he was pondering something. Hanako Pav. Let's get this over quickly. Midnight. Are you both ready? I nodded, so did Fumikage. Midnight. And. Go. I sidestepped left as Dark Shadow flew at me. I grabbed the shadowy figure and pulled him towards me. This in turn pulled Fumikage towards me. I grabbed him by the shirt and flipped him into the ground. The ground cracked under him. I may have gone a bit hard. Fumikage coughed up blood. He didn't move from where he was laying. Midnight called him out and Recovery Girl rushed over. He was fine in the end, but I was scared that I had hurt him badly. When I got back to the lobby, I immediately fell into Izuku's embrace. He just held me and said nothing. I just lay in his embrace until I stopped shaking. When I finally calmed myself down, Kitsumi was already gone. I looked over at the TV and watched as Midnight cracked her whip, signaling the match to begin. As I watched, it seemed that it was a bad matchup for Ijiro. Kitsumi managed to stay on the offensive the whole time. All Ijiro could do was block or dodge as Kitsumi kept him at a distance, using her superior range against him. He eventually got blasted out of the arena when his hardening ran out. Kitsumi held a hand out to him and helped him up. That was all of the round 2 battles done. I was up against Kitsumi next. I was excited. Izuku Pav. I looked up, seeing what the next matches were to be. Round 3. Battle 1. Izuku Sparta vs Ryashi Sparta. Battle 2. Hanako Sparta vs Kitsumi Bakugo. This will be interesting. I will either fight my girlfriend or get a rematch against Kitsumi, who has gotten better with her quirk. I was so confident about beating Ryashi that I was already planning out a strategy for the final round. Present Mick. Yeah. Can Ryashi Sparta and Izuku Sparta enter the arena? I got up and walked out. I glared at my father while the crowd cheered. I watched him shiver. I then broke eye contact and stared at Ryashi. I watched his body glow with a red aura as I allowed mine to glow with a green aura. Crack. Immediately, I allowed the green aura to flow out over my body. I summoned Yamato to my hand as Ryashi summoned Devil Sword Dante to his, while his red aura expanded. The crowd went silent. These forms of ours looked more hellish or devilish than Hanako's. Hanako practically looked like a fallen angel compared to us. We flew at each other, our swords clashing at the middle point. I couldn't hold this form for long. Neither could he. We started flying within the area, clashing swords mid-air. I eventually got a lucky hit in and managed to slam Ryashi into the ground. I launched a Mirage Blade at him and teleported to it. I felt my form fading, so I used a last-ditch move using my SDT to increase the power of it. Izuku. Judgment Cut. And. Ryashi. crap. I started breathing heavily as my SDT form faded. I switched to Mirage Edge as I heard a footstep behind me. I slashed and watched as Ryashi dodged the strike. Suddenly Ryashi went on the offensive, punching and kicking with Balrog. I could barely block. Let me take over. No, not after what happened to Shoto. Hey, he's fine. Now shut it. It's my turn. I could feel myself being pulled to the back of my mind. Then nothing. Allow me, Shin, to show you true power. Shin Pav. I ducked under a wide hook and jumped over a low kick before jabbing my attacker in the stomach. He staggered backwards as I saw him clutch his stomach. He looked up and was surprised by the sudden appearance change. Ryashi. Izuku. What happened to your hair and eyes? Shin. I got an I'm power up, you could call it. Ryashi. Oh. Shin. Now, on with it. I equipped Beowulf and started the attack. Throwing high and low punches, combined with spinning kicks. I heard the cracking of bone and an uncomfortable grunt. He'll heal it up later. Eventually, Ryashi fell under my onslaught. I stared at the knocked out Ryashi. My eyes returned to green. His hair returned to green. He allowed Beowulf to fade. He stared at the knocked out Ryashi before returning to the lobby area. Izuku Pav. I entered the lobby area and saw the shocked looks of my friends. Suddenly, I was hit with a massive headache and keeled over. Izuku. What happened? Izumi. I don't know, you were losing to Ryashi, then you got what you called an I'm power-up and beat the crap out of him. Izuku. Okay, no need to shout. Izumi. You broke his arms. Izuku. He can heal like me. He's fine. With that, I finally fell down. I could faintly hear Hanako panicking, but it sounded so far away. Hanako, far. Izuku. Stay awake. Someone get recovery girl. With that, the world went dark for the third time today. Ryashi Pav. I stood up and saw recovery girl running over. I just allowed my arms to heal, and all of my injuries disappeared along with the repairing of my arms. I was talking to recovery girl, convincing her I was fine. Hanako suddenly rushed out and called for recovery girl. I followed them to see Izuku laying unconscious on the floor of the lobby. I picked him up and placed him on the bed in the room. I remembered what happened last time, so I chained him down. No one argued with my decision. Just before Hanako's match was set to start, he woke up. I watched as he started to thrash around, trying to escape the restraints. Hanako walked over and freed him. He sat up and stretched his arms. His joints popped as he stretched. He walked over to me and apologized. I told him that it was fine, seeing as I wasn't permanently injured. Hanako had left to go fight her match against Katsumi. Izuku sat down next to me, on the left. Izumi was sat on the right of me. As the camera panned over the crowd, Izuku suddenly jumped up, staring at the screen with a mixture of shock and rage on his face. He ran off to the stands. I didn't stop him. He would be fine. Hanako Pav. I ran forward straight to Katsumi, but before I got to her, she transformed with a massive explosion. I managed to not get pushed out of the ring by burying my feet under the ground. I looked up and grinned at her current form. I activated my DT form. I ran behind her. I heard the crowd gasp as I practically teleported behind her. However, Katsumi just set off an explosion from her back. I realized that I had the same problem as Ejiro. I'm a close-range fighter, she has range on her side. Suddenly, she ran forwards and grabbed me by the throat. She flipped me over her shoulder. She then chased me, using explosions to keep up. Before I knew it, she punched me in the gut, then flew backwards. I wondered why she didn't press on with the attack. I stopped myself with my wings. Midnight. Hanako is out of bounds. Katsumi wins. I looked down and saw that I was indeed out of bounds. I flew down to the ground and deactivated my DT form. Katsumi also reverted back to normal. We both started to walk back to the lobby. Hanako. I underestimated your speed. That was over very quick. Katsumi. Yeah, sorry about that. Hanako. Oh, no, I'm not sad about it. You get a rematch against Izuku, good luck. Katsumi. Thanks. Hanako. Have you decided on a name for your new quirk? Katsumi. Yes, I have, it's called Explosion Devil. There is more power to my new quirk, but it seems locked. Hanako. We may need to get Izuku to look at it, maybe he can figure out why the rest of the power is locked. As we arrived in the lobby area, Izuku wasn't there. Ryashi said that he had run off after seeing someone in the TV. I wonder who he saw and why he needed to run off. I had just sat down on the couch when Izuku reappeared around the doorway. Izuku Pav. I was running around the arena, looking for him. There, I see him. Just up ahead was a man whose head looked like a potato. He had an oxygen mask over his face. He looked familiar. The man turned around. Izuku. Hello. My name is Izuku Sparta, nice to meet you. Hello Izuku, my name's Ryoya. Izuku. I feel like I have met you somewhere before. Ryoya. You have, Izuku. The man pointed a finger gun at me. Ryoya. Now, sit down. I sat down. I felt like he would easily be able to kill me. Ryoya. Good. Remember your expedition to Kamino Ward? Izuku. Yeah, wait, how do you know about that? He didn't answer my question, he just kept talking. Ryoya. Remember the guy with the black mask? Izuku. Yeah. Oh. Hello again, quirk merchant. Ryoya, AFO. Now, you best be on your way, after all, you need to console your girlfriend after her loss. My blood ran cold. He knew about my girlfriend. If he knows about my girlfriend, that means he could use her against me. Izuku. That's right. See you soon, Ryoya. Ryoya. Yes you will. Sooner than you expect. He placed his hand on my shoulder as I stood up. I flicked the hand away. Something felt odd about the contact. I noticed that a red and blue aura disappeared from the hand as it moved away from me. Ryoya. Munda says hi. Black goop came out of the man's mouth and he warped away. Of course he has a warp quirk. And who was Mundus? The name sounds familiar. I brushed off the thought as I walked back to the lobby. As I walked around the door, I noticed Hanako looking at me with a confused expression on her face. Izuku. I just saw someone I knew. I went to say hi as I hadn't seen them in ages. Present Mick. Izuku Sparta and Kitsumi Bakugo, please make your way to the arena for the final round. Izuku. Well, that's my ticket. See you soon Hanako. As I stood facing Kitsumi in the arena, I sensed a presence moving. I looked up as Toshinori moved out of his seat, heading to the teacher's lounge. He must be the person who is giving out the medals. Great. I was snapped out of my thoughts when I heard the sound of a whip crack. Kitsumi transformed onto her explosion devil form. Yes, I heard Kitsumi and Hanako talking. No, I wasn't stalking them. I just have really good hearing. I deflected an explosion away from me with my sheathed sword. I shot off a couple of judgment cuts at her, but she avoided them. I was forced to block or dodge explosions that Kitsumi kept setting off. If I could just hit her with a mirage blade, then the game would be mine. Left hand, direct hit. Kitsumi looked at the mirage blade, then back at where I was standing before, but I wasn't there. Izuku. Boo. She jumped away from me. I teleported behind her again and smacked her with the sheathed sword before swapping to Beowulf. I hit Kitsumi with an uppercut before connecting a second flying uppercut. This launched her further up. I used this extra height to teleport to her again and hit her with Yamato like a baseball bat. I watched as she barely managed to stop herself in the air. The best way to finish this fight was to switch, so I stabbed myself with Yamato. Izuku. Concentration level 3. Switch world of V. But thus being this high in the air, it was difficult for Kitsumi to dodge the onslaught of attacks. She was pinned to the ground by the canes that V threw. Midnight. Kitsumi, can you move? Kitsumi struggled against the canes, but to no avail. Izuku. Those are devil arms, they cannot be broken easily. Kitsumi sighed. Kitsumi. I am unable to move, Midnight. Present Mick. Kitsumi is unable to move. Izuku wins the UA Sports Festival. I made the canes vanish and walked back to the lobby with Kitsumi. We sat there for a bit before being directed to an underground area with 3 circles. I stood on the middle one. Kitsumi stood on the one to my right. Hanako and Ryashi stood on the one on the left. Suddenly, the circular platforms started to rise out of the ground. The platforms emerged from an area within the stadium. We were met with a cheering crowd. All Might. I am here. To hand out medals. Great, I was right. I watched as Toshinori handed out bronze medals to Hanako and Ryashi. A silver to Kitsumi. Then he walked up to me. He placed a gold medal around my neck. I leaned forward and bowed to Toshinori. When I leaned back up, my hair was covering my eyes again. I hadn't been able to reapply gel to it. I was glad that it was covering the pure hatred emanating from my eyes. I brushed it away from my eyes as the camera crews came over to take photos. Toshinori was gone and I smiled at the cameras. Once the podiums retracted back underground, I cracked my knuckles. Phase 2 of the night starts now. Izuku Pav. After the sports festival, I practically dragged everyone to Hanako and my room. Izuku. Alright, many important revelations happened today. First, the phone call. Kitsumi. Can I go check on my brother first? Izuku. Yeah. About that. The Lav has him. Everyone. What? Izuku. And I believe he went willingly. But that's a chat for after tonight. Ryashi. What do you mean? Izuku. Tonight will be our first group act as the new TMC. An off-the-books mission to wipe out the Shy Hasekai. Ryashi. Haha. Sounds great. Shoka. Revenge for Eri. Izuku. One thing overhauls mine. Shoto. Important question, who else is going other than us? Izuku. Aizawa, Snipe and Nezu. Hanako. Nezu can fight. Izuku. You have no idea. Also, live ammunition will be used. Izumi. By Snipe right. Izuku. Yeah, Snipe, Nezu and me. I pull up a floorboard and grab out the gun that Nezu got me. Izuku. I am fully allowed to use this gun. That is what I had been practicing with up until the sports festival. Everyone. How did you get a gun? Izuku. Uncle Nezu. Ryashi. Oh, that makes sense. Izumi. Yeah. Izuku. Now, everyone get ready and meet me back here. After about 3 minutes, everyone came back wearing all black gear. I was wearing a new outfit that I had gotten a girl from the support department to make for me. Her name was Mei Hatsume, and she almost blew me up on the many occasions that I had visited her on. As people complimented my suit, I opened a portal to Nezu's office. Nezu looked up from his paperwork and looked at the group. He nodded and pulled out his M82. People were shocked by the size of gun that Nezu was using. I turned at the sound of a door opening. I nodded at Aizawa and Snipe as they entered. Once everyone was ready, I opened 3 portals. One to the building that Snipe was going to, a different building that Nezu was going to, and one to the front gate of the Shai Haseikai HQ. Aizawa and the new DMC went to the front gate with me. Everyone had comms in their ears. Izuku. Snipe, Nezu, you in position. Snipe. Affirmative. Nezu. Affirm. 2 people behind the door. 1 bulky male and 1 slim female. Izuku. Roger. Don't go loud until I kill them. Nezu and Snipe. Affirmative. I walked up to the door. I equipped Beowulf and punched the door off the hinges. There were a few weird looks thrown our way by the people walking by. Third person Pav. Aizawa watched as 2 heads flew over the wall. Izuku. Comms. Cleared hot. Bang. Boom. Everyone flinched as Snipe then Nezu fired their weapons. Aizawa. Ryashi, take Izumi, Shoto and Hanako with you and head right. I'll take Shoka and Kitsumi with me to the left here. Ryashi. Roger that. Following Aizawa's squad, aka A squad, Aizawa Pav. I started throwing my opponents with my capture weapon while Shoka froze the enemies and Kitsumi exploded them non-fatally. We were tasked with subduing the 8 bullets and anyone who got in our way. We were permitted to kill, but told to try and take the 8 bullets alive. Once the room was cleared, I felt an odd sensation, as if I was drunk. I lost all sense of equilibrium and stumbled. I looked at my students and saw they were also stumbling and falling over. So, this was someone's quirk. I looked around and saw a man with a white mask drinking some form of alcohol, spilling most of it on the floor. Aizawa. Todoro Sakaki. I'm going to erase his quirk. When I do, Shoka, you will freeze him, got it? Shoka. Understood, Eraserhead. I looked at Todoro directly and felt a tingling in my eyes that comes when I activate my quirk. Suddenly, everything returned to normal. I could stand properly. Shoka sent a wave of ice at the opponent, but he managed to dodge. I threw my capture tape at him to immobilize him. Shoka managed to freeze him this time. I felt the heaviness of my eyelids as my eyes started to close. Aizawa. Shoka, don't unfreeze him yet. Shoka. Why? I blinked and she fell over onto Kitsumi. I fell towards Todoro, who headbutted me. He couldn't escape from the ice however. So I activated my quirk again and punched him in the face, knocking him out. Aizawa. Okay, now you can unfreeze him. I pulled out some zip ties and rope and tied up the man. I looked over as 6 explosions came from the right side of the HQ. We would go assist Ryashi's team soon, but we first needed to clear the rest of the left side. Switch to Ryashi's squad, aka Devil Squad, Ryashi Pav. This man was annoying. Rikiya Katsukim, one of the 8 bullets. He grabbed onto Shoto and sucked his energy, which made Rikiya bigger and stronger. I had managed to subdue him with a direct hit with one of my other guns, the Kalina and the second. I shot him with it 6 times. That seemed to do the trick. Oh how wrong I was. Once we had him chained up, I saw something in his hand. Before I could get to him, he injected himself with it. Suddenly, Rikiya started to suck the energy from all of us. I was told that his quirk requires contact. Ryashi. What the hell is this? I watched as Rikiya broke out of his restraints. He had grown massive. Not taller than Goliath, but still, large enough. I looked at my team. They were all semi-conscious on the ground. Ryashi. Nice, looks like I get to have fun with you, you lumbering pile of meat. Rikiya threw a punch at me. I blocked it, but I was still launched back a bit. Ryashi. Haha. Now you pose a challenge. Sin Devil trigger. I transform and rushed the massive man. I don't want to kill the man, but it seems like I might have to. I will try to knock him out. If that doesn't work, stabby stabby. I pulled out Cavalier and hit him with the motorbike parts. I switched to Balrog and start punching and kicking him. Rikia managed to block some of the hits, but I was too fast for him. So most of my attacks got through. I saw that most of my attacks weren't doing much. I sighed and switched over to Devil Sword Dante. I stabbed the sword into his chest, then pulled back. I held up my hand and started forming energy around him. He couldn't move as I compressed energy on him. He tried to absorb it, but he couldn't. The energy got super condensed, then exploded outwards, almost killing Rikia. I let my SDT form fade. I watched my friend slowly get up. I collapsed to my knees, tired from using that move. Everyone was too tired to move. We were slowly regaining energy when more Yakuza members emerged. There were 5 of them. We couldn't do anything. They were going to kill us. Bang. 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 Boom. 4 fell down with medium-sized holes in their heads, while the 5th man's head exploded. Izumi. Yep, that's Nezu for you. She fell to the ground unconscious. I sat there regaining my energy with the rest of my team. Izuku Pav. I was walking through the halls. I had only killed the 2 at the doors so far. Most of the Yakuza seemed to be at the left and right sides. Hey, lem play with them. No. Oh, come on, you're no fun Izuku. Also, someone else is here. What? That momentary lapse in concentration allowed Shin to take over. Ah. Damn it. Don't kill too many people, try to take the 8 bullets alive. I make no promises. Shin Pav, warning, lots of violence. Shin doesn't hold back. From here until the end of the chapter. I awoke in a room surrounded by Yakuza members. I summoned a large amount of mirage blades around me, then shot them out at the members, killing all of them. I walked forwards, seeing Chronostasis. Shin. Are you a part of the 8 bullets? Chronostasis. No, I am part of Overhaul's inner circle. One of his personal assistants. Shin. Oh. I can kill you then. Chronostasis. What? Shin. I was told to take the 8 bullets alive, but you're not a part of the 8 bullets. Chronostasis suddenly felt the world slowly going dark. Shin. Unlike Izuku, I have no limits on my power, so I'm always at 100%. Chronostasis. What did you do to me? I pulled something from behind me. Shin. Looking for this. Chronostasis suddenly looked down at his chest and saw a bleeding hole. Chronostasis. Shit. I watched as he fell over and died. I threw his heart at him. Shin. Take this back. It's too twisted for my liking. That was too far Shin. Hey. He wasn't part of the 8 bullets, and he was the one who directly helped Overhaul torture Eri. You're lucky I didn't do worse. Oh. Never mind then, I forgot what Chronostasis did. You will let me deal with Overhaul and you can have all of the fun out there now. Even the 8 bullets. Yes, I don't care anymore. Yay. I walked forwards, leaving a trail of blood behind me as I killed every Yakuza member that walked in my path. I was mostly using the Yamato, but I occasionally used the Smith & Wesson that was strapped to my hip. I entered a room full of different bird-looking people. Toya Satsuno, Yuhoho, Sorimitsu Tabe, Kendo Rappa and Hikiji Tengai. Shin Nemoto must be with Overhaul and Mimic. Toya tried to take the Yamato from me, but he couldn't, which confused him. He looked at me confused. He looked even more confused when he saw my sword drawn. Toya. When did he? Before he could finish his head rolled off his shoulders and I was behind him, standing next to Kendo Rappa. Hikiji put a barrier up around himself. Kendo's arms fell off. I twisted around to Hikiji's barrier and cut it. He looked surprised as his barrier broke. I turned around and faced Yuhoho as Hikiji split in half. I pulled out my gun and shot Rappa in the head as I walked over to Yu, who was backing away. I shot another bullet at Sorimitsu, but he ate it. I decided to cut his head off. Yu was the only one left alive. He was still backing away from me. He then slipped in the blood that was pooling on the floor. I dashed forwards and sliced his head off. I'm not one to squander an advantage. I cleaned my blade and sheathed it. I walked off in the direction of Overhaul's office. I could sense his vile aura coming from a doorway. I pulled the door open. I saw a little bird-like man. I watched as a hand popped out of the puppet trying to grab me, but I sliced Mimic into a million pieces. Overhaul looked shocked and annoyed to see me walk into his room with bloody shoes. I saw Shin Nemoto standing behind him. Overhaul and Nemoto. Who are you? Shin, Izuku. I am Izuku Sparta. Overhaul and Nemoto. Why is your hair white? Shin, Izuku. Because Izuku isn't in control. Overhaul looked perplexed. Shin Nemoto looked dead. Shin, Izuku. Oops, got some of Nemoto's blood on you. Overhaul looked behind him just as Nemoto's head fell into his lap. He looked back at Shin, Izuku, and started to react to the blood. Hives started to form on his head as he got up pissed. He watched as my eyes returned to green. His hair returned to green. He regained control. Izuku Pav. I looked at Overhaul, who was covered in blood. Izuku. It's time to finish this. Overhaul. Yes. As Overhaul approached me, I pulled out my gun and shot both of his hands, then both of his kneecaps. He howled in pain as I walked up to him. I summoned Yamato and chopped both of his hands off before he could use his quirk to heal himself. As he was about to talk again, I pointed my gun and shot him in the neck. He would bleed out. I turned around and left. I was going to go see if my classmates needed help. Izuku Pav. I walked out to the main area of the X-Shai Haseikai base. I saw that Rakia was being quickly moved due to his injuries. Nezu, comms. Izuku, why did you leave the rest of the 8 bullets underground? We needed to detain them. Izuku. Everyone, I will explain at the debrief. Return to Nezu's office. I opened a portal to Nezu's office. Once I was through, I opened 4 more portals, one leading to where Nezu was, one to Snipe, one to Ace Squad and one to Devil Squad. Once everyone was laying down and resting, I decided to tell them about Shin and what he did to the 8 bullets. Izuku. Well, Nezu, all of the 8 bullets, other than Dodoro and Rakia, are dead. Nezu. I told you not to kill them. Izuku. I didn't. Nezu. Huh. Shoto. Is this about the hair and eye color change? Izuku. Yes. Shoto's eyes lit up at this and pulled a notebook out of his non-existent pockets. Shoka, Kitsumi and Izumi. How do you do that? Shoto. Izuku is a better explainer. Izuku. Yeah, you just store the book somewhere in the 4th wall. Everyone sans Shoto. What? I look towards the wall and point. Izuku. There. Kitsumi. My brain hurts, this makes no sense. I look back at the wall, noticing a figure standing there. He had a name badge that held one word. Izuku. Sorry, author. Anyway, back to the 8 bullets. Nezu. Who killed them? Izuku. My alternate personality, Shin. I only killed Kai Chisaki. Nezu. And how well can you hold him back? Izuku. He isn't really able to come out whenever he wants, so pretty well. Nezu. Sigh, well, you all need sleep. We will do a proper debrief tomorrow. Go back to the dorms and rest over the coming weekend. We all returned to the dorms after Nezu dismissed us. Once I entered the dorm, I saw Iri sleeping on the couch. I left her there for now as I had one last thing to tell everyone. I took them to my room and sat them down. Izuku. Now, the Kitsuki problem. Shoto. What is there to talk about? Izuku. If he's been kidnapped, we save him next time we see the League. Kitsumi. And if he's gone willingly? Izuku. Then hold me back. Hanako and Izumi. Why? Kitsumi. You deserve some revenge against him. Izuku. I want to see what Shoto and Shoka would do to him. Shoto. Fun. I sent everyone back to their rooms and went to go grab Iri. Seeing as she was asleep, I picked her up and carried her to our room and placed her in her bed. I flopped down in my bed. Hanako's bed was empty as she had gone to get a glass of water. I closed my eyes, waiting for sleep to take me. I heard the sound of the door opening. I listened as Hanako walked past me to her bed. She placed a glass on her bedside table as she walked back to the door. I was confused and tried to think of why she would need to go back out. I felt my blanket lift up and I felt her lay down on my chest. Hanako. Aizu, you awake? I didn't respond. I wanted to see what she would do. She gripped me tighter and I could feel her shaking. Hanako. Tonight scared me. I thought I was going to lose you. I didn't want to find out that you were dead. Please don't ever leave me, Aizu. After she finished talking, she moved to get up. I grabbed her and pulled her back. Izuku. I will never leave you, Hana. Hanako. Wa. Huh. You were awake. Izuku. Yes. Please stay, I don't want to be alone tonight. Hanako. Of course, dear. Third person Pav. They stayed like that for most of the night. Izuku woke up early. He left and started to cook breakfast for the rest of class 1A. Hanako was the first to come out of her room at 4:10, complaining that her human pillow left her. Izuku laughed while he prepared breakfast for the class. Everyone eventually filed out and saw that Izuku had made bacon, egg, cheese and avocado tacos. Izuku had already eaten his food and decided to go outside and talk to Shin. Ah. Hello there. Good morning, Shin. Who are you? What the? I did say someone else was here. Alright. What is your name and how did you get here? My name is Urizen. I was placed here by the one you call the quirk merchant. Oh. That must have been when he placed his hand on me during the sports festival. Bingo. So, what would you do, Urizen? Not much. I don't want to work with the quirk merchant and his acquaintance. Alright, as long as you don't cause too much trouble, I'm okay with that. After leaving my mindscape, I walked back inside and turned on the news. Reporter. Breaking news. Yakuza-themed house attacked. Info revealed today shows that the Yakuza-themed house was actually a real Yakuza base. An unknown group of individuals were seen entering and exiting the base. One question on everyone's minds. Who were the attackers and what was their motivation? Mina. Whoa. Iri. Ya. Ku. Za. Izuku. Ya. Yakuza. They are like gangs. Iri. Gangs. Like Aver. Izuku placed his hand over her mouth before she finished what she was saying. They looked at the screen as the reporter listed all of the Yakuza that were killed in the attack while showing images of said members. Reporter. Notable bodies found were that of the 8 bullets along with the inner circle and Overhaul himself. The heroes have been trying to find a way to get in and take down this Yakuza group for ages. Now, an unknown group of individuals blasted through the entire base in one night. Mina. Wow. One night. Iri's eyes widened at hearing Overhaul's name. She looked up at Izuku and he winked at her. Iri smiled and hugged her father. After the news announcement, Izuku called his class and asked them if they needed anything from the shops. Izuku nodded as he wrote everything down in his phone. He then called Nezu to get permission to leave the school premises. A few people were shocked by Izuku having Nezu's phone number. Izuku? Well, he is my uncle after all. This confused some people even more. Before more questions were asked, Izuku opened a portal and ran inside. Izuku? I'm not in the mood for questions. Mina? Oh, and I thought I could have some fun. Izuku jumped. Hi. Mina looked up at Izuku as he was standing on a light pole. Mina? Did I scare you? Izuku? You think? Mina? Sorry, I just had some questions. Izuku sat on the light pole before sliding off the edge and landing gracefully next to Mina. Izuku? Fine. But you have to help carry the shopping. Mina pondered this for a second. Mina? Deal. The two walked to the shop, chatting casually. It was a warm morning. Izuku decided to take his jumper off. He threw the jumper through a portal that he opened to his room. Mina? That reminds me. Izuku? Yeah, what's up? Mina? When you talked about all of the bullying you experienced in school, it reminded me of my middle school days. Izuku? Oh, I see. What with your cute appearance? Mina smiled at the compliment. She poked at a scar that was poking out from Izuku's short-sleeved shirt. Mina? I was bullied because I was different. And I can see that you have scars to show for it as well. Izuku? Oh, this old thing. Yeah, that was my first scar, although it wasn't from bullying. It was from saving someone. There was a young boy who had slipped and was holding on to the side of a drop into a lake. I grabbed him and pulled him up. However, I slipped and fell in his place. I asked him to help, but he took one look at my shoes and walked away. I fell into the lake and badly cut my shoulder. Mina looked at Izuku with wide eyes as he retold the story. Mina? Shoes. Izuku pulled out his phone to show her his old shoes. Izuku? These shoes symbolized me being part of the quirkless population. Mina? Yeah, my mother told me to avoid anyone wearing shoes like this. Izuku? Yeah. Anyway, back to my scars. You saw the other scars I had during the sports festival, correct? Mina? Yeah, kind of. Izuku lifted the front of his shirt up to show her. Izuku? These are from the bullying. Mina? That hand one. It's from Kitsuki, right? Izuku dropped his shirt back down as he answered the question. Izuku? Yes. That was from Kitsuki. Mina? I swear, when he gets out of that hospital bed, I'm going to melt him. Izuku? Thanks for the offer, Mina, but I think we should change the topic away from murder, as we have arrived at the shops now. Mina? Alright. Izuku and Mina walked around the shops for a while. Once the stuff had been paid for, Izuku opened a portal and placed the stuff on the kitchen counter. Once everything on the list had been ticked off, Mina asked if they were going through the portal again. Izuku nodded at this. Before he could open a portal, something caught his eye. There was a hairdresser that said that they dyed hair. Mina followed after Izuku as he walked to the shop. She shrugged to herself, seeing as she didn't have much to do that day anyway. Mina sat in a waiting chair while she watched Izuku get his hair dyed. He got everything other than the ends dyed white. Mina smiled as she saw that his hair now matches Hanako's. Izuku paid at the counter and walked over to where Mina was standing. Izuku? Ready to go? Mina? Yep. Izuku? Okay, ladies first. Mina? No. After you. I insist. Mina looked at Izuku and the two laughed. Izuku suddenly went serious and shoved Mina through the portal. The last thing she saw before the portal closed was Izuku with 10 swords impaled in his body. UA Dorms, Class 1A. Mina. Izuku. The class ran to the kitchen after hearing Mina scream. Hanako. What happened? Mina. We were joking around together, then he pushed me through the portal, and then he was stabbed by someone or something. Hanako. Don't worry. He will be back soon. There is almost no one who can hold him down. In the meantime, let's tell Izawa about this and see what he and the teachers can do. All for one, Pav. All for one. Lord Mundus. The demons were able to capture Izuku. Mundus. Excellent. Now. Prepare for the next attack. All for one. Tamura is going to try and recruit Stain. Mundus. But he will fail. I watched as Mundus shrank down into a more human form. Mundus. Release some demons on Hosu when Tamura fails to recruit Stain. The gates to hell open soon. That's it, guys. Thanks for watching and supporting us. See you in the next part.